Number one thing that jumped out to you about Packers Falcons today?
All the first downs that happened. It was like 40 something for 44 total first downs in this game, which is always gonna be entertaining. Only 2 sacks. One of them was for like a yard. So not a lot of negative plays. But I mean, let's start with Arthur Smith on 4th down. Let's just start first and foremost with that. Like, Arthur Smith should be the nerd king because he runs play action a bunch. And then he also just goes for 4th down a bunch. Isn't that like the nerds' favorite? And he uses 12 personnel a bunch. Isn't it like just the nerds' favorite things over and over, all of them in one spot? But he should be the nerd king. But went for it. Next Gen Stats tweeted this, but kind of figured it out. The Falcons went for it on 4th down 5 times throughout the game. The offense converted 3 times, failed once, and called for a false start on the other. The Next Gen Stats decision guy agreed with all 10 of Arthur Smith's 4th down decisions today. Nerd king. Arthur Smith, but also just really fun offenses, but also flawed teams. So you can just see the good and bad of these teams and how they're built offensively and defensively.
Thought the Falcons run game today was excellent. I think they rushed for 211 yards, the 48.7% success rate, which would have led the league last year. And some of those 4th down decisions, when you got 4th and inches, 4th and 1, the option to just pitch it back to Bijan Robinson is not the worst solution.
Nope.
That guy is unreal. And you have a well-designed run game with that sort of talent and a guy like Tyler Algier, and we just see how dynamic and dangerous it can be when you see it all in totality. You've got this guy who was one of the most efficient runners in the league last year, is kind of that big bruising back, and then you have already one of the like 4 or 5 most electric guys in the league with the ball in his hands. I'm comfortable saying that. Every time he touches it, I feel like I have to take a breath because of how ridiculous it is. Anything could happen when any single time he touches the ball, and we're 2 games into his career. It's ridiculous.
I'm excited because they sub him so much with Algier, and I think, which is smart, but they sub him in out. Every time he's out, I'm always kind of like, oh, like, and I really like Algier. Like, nice back. I was high on him coming out of the draft too, but it's just Bijan is something else. There's some of those runs that, again, it's taking a 0-yard run and turning it into 16. It's the 4-yard run and making it 6. It's like just every touch he gets, and they're splitting him out on 3rd down and designing plays for him to beat up on linebackers, and it's making it look easy. And then he gets yards after the catch. Like, he's just so fluid as an athlete. He's fantastic. And then just how they use everybody, you can see it kind of coming into itself. The Falcons offense, they had some limits, last week, or kind of had some rough patches last week, but just this week using the eye candy, just using Kyle Pitts as sometimes just an eye candy guy going on like split zone. And he doesn't even have to block anybody. He draws 2 defenders and opens up stuff in the run game, but also just using play action stuff off of runs that they've already shown. Like, they had a really fun run last week. It was a counter play with the center and the fullback. Today they ran it a couple times, but then they ran a play action off of it today. It was the Kyle Pitts one.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was the exact same spot on the field that they ran the play last week. And I was like, oh, just a little tendency breaker already. So I just think this offense is going to take a little time to get going. Ritter just is terrifying. Like, early first quarter, Ritter is the most terrifying quarterback to watch. He's just like this in college. He has to get hit once, and then all of a sudden he just calms down. But it's just, until then, dude was just at first quarter, it was like, what are you doing? And then he calmed down as the game went along. But that first quarter was pretty terrifying with him.
I don't know what to make of him. I truly don't know what to make of him right now, because there were 3 or 4 decisions in this game again today that made me want to tear my hair out. Jair Alexander drops an interception. Quay Walker drops an interception. Just horrifying decisions a couple different times. But then what really impressed me in a couple moments today is some of the off-platform arm angle slot changing throws. He's more creative as a thrower than I expected him to be, which really jumped out today. And the ways they used him with his legs, especially in the red zone. That play where they're motioning Jonnu Smith back across, and it's a design quarterback keeper to that left side. They used it twice in the red zone, once to score a touchdown. So his ability to do some stuff with his legs and the creativity as a thrower, it almost offsets the near picks that were thrown today. So I don't know what to make of it, because
he converts some 3rd and longs that, like, and you're just like, what the hell was that? He hits like a dig route, and you're
dagger,
like,
the dagger to Drake London is just a strike that he throws on 3rd and 15. And so it's like, okay, like, you're not just kind of along for the ride here. I hope that it settles down over the course of the season, because what I think both of us collectively thought about this offense coming into the year, in that everything else around it is going to be so dynamic and dangerous. He just needs to keep the train on the tracks.
That's
and
it.
This thing is going to be a runaway train. And that is what it felt like after today, where if you're making the right plays, man, you have so much talent on this team. We saw what Drake London could do today. He snapped off Jair Alexander on a huge completion late in the game. Like, this team has so much talent at their disposal, and they're deployed in interesting enough ways that as long as his decision making is like a B+ combined with like a B- in the playmaking category, they can be a really dangerous offense. And I think you saw glimpses of that today.
There's some third downs, and he hit one to Jonnu Smith early where he tries shit and he's going to get punished. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's sometimes I want to just tell him, like, stop galaxy braining some stuff. The Quay Walker one was him trying to get to like the third read when the second read was like running wide open. And he was trying to be like Mr. like 301 level, like right there. And it was like, no, just take it. You have like, I think it was like Kyle Pitts. I was like, you have Kyle Pitts screaming to the opposite corner. It's like, just throw it. But I do like how he operates on third down. And you could just, again, like you said, a sense of calm. And just these players, man, they just have some real dudes. Even Mac Hollins is making a lot of plays. And it's really nice how they're figuring out the chemistry and the formula with all these guys. Sometimes it's okay. How do we spread this ball out? And I think every game is going to be so interesting how the ball gets spread out and what they take advantage of, because they're going to have a lot of answers. I really do think that's why I'm so high on them. And I think sorry, I don't know if we're going to talk Packers, but I think they did some. Really
we're about to, because I was
okay. I'm sorry.
All this excitement about the Falcons, and they ultimately win this game. But if Jordan Love doesn't get a weird false start on a 4th and 1 late in the game, the Packers absolutely could have won this thing. Absolutely. Jordan Love's numbers in this game, if you just look at the advanced stats, are very, very good.
Mm-hmm. He's firing them, but it's, you missed Aaron Jones today, and you can really feel like this is a kind of a no kidding statement, but you can really feel missing that Christian Watson, that ace pass catcher in their passing attack. And like, yes, you can dial up and scheme up a lot of plays, but especially in the second half when the Falcons pass defense, I really like. I even liked it last week against Carolina. They're like, as far as their coverage wise, pass rush is up and down and run defense is up and down, but I do like their pass defense.
I'm not willing to say that after the Trey Flowers game today. I am not willing to say that I like the Falcons pass defense. Everything outside of Trey Flowers, I think, might be fine. He eventually got yanked in this game from Mike Hughes, but that was the Packers passing game plan in the second half. We are going to isolate Trey Flowers on every single play. And it's funny that we've gotten to this moment where I really want to see this Falcons pass defense with Jeff Okudah, because that's what they've been getting from Trey Flowers over the last couple of games. He's just not a starting outside corner in the NFL right now.
He's a role player. He's supposed to be in dime to like defend tight ends. He's the tight end eraser. But the other corner, AJ Terrell, still good. Had a beautiful PBU in the end zone where he just poked it out late. That was really nice. Like against Wicks, I think it was. But I think that the Packers, though, have a fun offense. They were missing some pieces. Bakhtiari's sad today, which is, I think, going to be a thing every time they play on turf. But it's weird, right? What was that?
So strange. It's so strange. Yeah. I just don't know how to talk about it, because it's his body. I understand it. He doesn't feel comfortable clearly playing on certain types of surfaces, but you could hear the frustration, I think, in Matt LaFleur's voice today when he was asked about it. He really didn't want to talk about it. And it was, I want to say it was Matt Schneidman from The Athletic who kind of said, is this just going to be a continuing thing? And he was just like, guys, we've been talking about this for 2 years. Like, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. And the fact that the injury was 2 years ago and you're missing your all-pro left tackle in some of these games simply because he can't play on certain surfaces, it's a little bit frustrating. When you look at the way he played last week and the way the line as a whole played last week when all those guys are on the field, not having that group in hugely important games really does matter.
And it's not only just talent wise too, and it's chemistry and working together as we talk about, like with your fellow linemen. And today I just know one offhand, and again, this will show itself in all 22, but I noticed a play that the left tackle, I think they might have been rotating left tackles. But one of the left tackles
was in there for a little bit.
Yeah,
so
it was Walker.
I couldn't tell, but yeah.
Walker, who had a nice preseason. Again, the Packers are like 8 deep, but offensive line is sick. But he, having said that, doesn't have a lot of reps. He missed the blitz. and it got beat inside and being a pressure on Jordan Love. I think a sack on Jordan Love, or at least that maybe that was the one sack. But that's just what happens when you don't have your left tackle that's had 100-something starts in the NFL. That experience is invaluable, and I think it is very frustrating, especially it's like a home and away split. It's like you're platooning your offensive line. You don't want to do that. You want these guys to build chemistry as the season goes along, especially for a Packers team that's going to live with an awesome run game and some cool play action stuff.